I can still remember the days when it felt like nothing could ever come between Alex and me. We grew up together, side by side. From the moment we met in elementary school, it was like we were destined to be best friends. Everyone saw us as a team inseparable, loyal to each other in a way that no one else understood. "Man, this is it," Alex had said, sitting next to me on the bleachers one afternoon. His voice was full of that wild energy I admired so much. "We're gonna own this town one day." I grinned at him, like always. "Sure we will. But first, let's get through high school without getting caught sneaking out." He laughed, nudging me with his shoulder. "You're too careful. You know, sometimes I think you're the only thing keeping me from going completely off the rails." That's how it was with Alex Wilde, unpredictable, but always with a plan. He'd throw out these big dreams, and I'd be there to back him up, believing in every word. No one else knew him the way I did. We didn't just share a friendship, we shared our futures. I thought I knew him better than anyone, but looking back, maybe I should have seen the cracks earlier. It wasn't anything huge at first. Just small things. Alex started caring more about what he wore, what kind of car he drove. It wasn't a big deal, I told myself. I was still happy for him. He worked hard for everything he had. Hell, if anyone deserved the success, it was Alex. Then came that night, we were sitting on the roof, looking out over the city, talking about our plans for the future. I'd just gotten my first real job, the kind that meant something. Alex, though, had a new look in his eyes, different from the carefree dreams we once shared. "You ever think about how much money we'll need to really make it?" he asked, his voice quieter than usual. He wasn't joking. His fingers drummed lightly against the edge of the roof. "I mean, I know we're just starting out, but I'm starting to think bigger." I turned to him, still trying to keep the mood light. "You're always thinking bigger, man. But money's not everything, right?" He gave me this look like I was naive. "You really think that? You'll see. Money opens doors. More than you could imagine?" I nodded, not fully understanding what he meant at the time. But now, I get it. Somewhere along the way, Alex had started measuring everything by how much it could bring in. His friendships, his dreams, it all revolved around the weight of $1. And maybe I should have noticed sooner, but I didn't. "Don't tell me you're still holding on to that old idea of what matters," he teased, nudging me again. "We're adults now, man. It's time to grow up," I chuckled, though a part of me felt unsettled. "Yeah, I guess you're right, but the truth. The more Alex chased success, the more I felt like I was losing him. I didn't want to admit it, though. We were supposed to be in this together, right?" A few months later, when he started talking about business deals, investments, and how we could make real money, I didn't think much of it. It all sounded too complicated, and frankly, I didn't have the same drive that he did. "Look," Alex said one evening, as we sat in his car after another one of our usual late-night talks. "I know you're not into this whole money thing as much as I am, but this is big. I'm talking about a future. Don't you want more?" I stared at him, my heart tight. Of course I want more. "But I don't know, Alex. It just feels different, you know? You've changed." He gave me a quick grin, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Maybe I'm growing up. You should too." At the time, I brushed it off. After all, he was my best friend. We had been through everything together. Nothing would change that, right? But as I sit here now, it's clear I was wrong. Alex had changed long before I realized it. I guess I was too loyal, too trusting to see the shift. "Think about it," Alex said, his voice low and urgent, leaning across the table as we sat in the quiet cafe. "This could be it. The chance we've been waiting for. The kind of opportunity that doesn't come around every day." I stared at him, unsure. "It sounds too good to be true. Are you sure about this?" Alex flashed his trademark grin, the one that always got me to go along with his ideas, no matter how crazy they were. "You know, I wouldn't bring it up if I wasn't. You trust me, don't you?" I hesitated, my fingers tapping nervously on the edge of my coffee cup. "Of course I trust you. But this, it just seems risky. Risky." He laughed, a sound I used to find comforting. But now it felt a little hollow. "You know, we've always talked about getting out of here, about making something of ourselves. This is the way." "I don't know, Alex. I mean, what if it doesn't work? What if we lose everything? He leaned back, his gaze never leaving mine, the intensity in his eyes growing sharper. It'll work. I've seen it work for other people. All we have to do is take the leap. Trust me. We can't afford to sit around and wait for success to knock on our door. We have to grab it. I looked down at the contract in front of me, the one that outlined the deal. There were terms in there that made my stomach churn, but Alex's confidence, his certainty, was hard to ignore. I had always followed him, always believed that he knew what he was doing. I'm just worried about us, man, I said quietly. What if things go south? I don't want this to screw up our friendship. He reached out and placed a hand on my shoulder, his expression softening just for a moment. Nothing's going to mess up our friendship. This will bring us both up. You'll see. I could hear the sincerity in his voice, and it almost convinced me. Almost, but I still felt something nagging at me, something I couldn't shake. It was that gut feeling I'd ignored too many times already. All right, I said finally, pushing the feeling aside. I'll do it. For us, Alex's eyes lit up, and he smiled like he'd just won a victory. That's what I like to hear. The next few weeks felt like a whirlwind. I dove into the deal headfirst, working late nights, making calls, pushing myself harder than I ever had before. Alex was the same, focused, driven, always one step ahead. But there was something different about him. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. He wasn't as present anymore. He'd be there one moment, helping with the details, and then gone the next. Always busy or meeting someone important. One night I called him after a long day, frustrated and exhausted. Where have you been, man? We've got to figure this out, I said into the phone. I've been handling everything, but I need your help. I can't do this alone. There was a pause before he replied, his voice cold and distant. I told you, I'm working on something big. Just trust me, okay? You've got this. I don't know. I feel like you're pulling away from me. This isn't just about the business, Alex. We've always done things together, man. Another long silence. Then he muttered, things change. The line went dead. I sat there, staring at the phone. My chest tightened. Was this the same Alex? The one I'd shared everything with? Or was this a new version of him? Someone I didn't recognize? It felt like we were drifting apart, and it scared me. But I couldn't bring myself to question him further. He had a way of making me feel like I was being paranoid, like I was overthinking it. The next day when I saw him again, he was all smiles, just like old times. But in my gut, I knew something was off. As the weeks passed, the signs became clearer. Alex's sudden disappearances became more frequent. He'd show up for a few minutes, act like everything was normal, then vanish again, always with some excuse. My calls and messages went unanswered for hours. And when he did respond, it was brief, almost robotic. I couldn't keep ignoring it. My trust in him, the trust I'd built over years, was starting to crack. One evening, showed up at his place unannounced, hoping to catch him before he slipped away again. I stood at the door, my hand hovering over the knocker. The sound of movement inside stopped me. The door opened slowly. Alex stood there, his face not the warm, familiar one I knew, but one that was hard and cold. His eyes barely met mine. "What's up?" he asked, his voice flat. I pushed past him without waiting for an invitation, my frustration boiling over. "You tell me." "I don't know what's going on with you anymore." Alex didn't move. "Nothing's going on, all right? Just let it go." "No, I'm not going to let it go. I've been carrying this on my own for too long. This deal? It's all on me. You're barely even around anymore." "What's happening, Alex?" "What are you hiding from me?" He took a deep breath, his jaw tight. "I'm not hiding anything. You're just overreacting." But the look in his eyes, there was something there. Something he wasn't saying. I hadn't expected to find anything. But when I opened that email, everything changed. It was late, way past midnight. I couldn't sleep, so I grabbed my laptop to go over some financials, thinking I'd just check a few things before calling it a night. The business numbers didn't add up. Something didn't feel right. I opened the account files, and that's when I saw it. A payment. A large one. To an account I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. I clicked on the details, and it was from the joint account Alex and I had been using for our business venture. My hands shook as I searched through the transactions. More payments, more withdrawals, always to that same account. It didn't take long for me to realize the truth. Alex had been siphoning money from us, from me. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding in my chest. The betrayal was too much to take in. The person I trusted more than anyone, the one I thought of as family, had been stealing from me, all behind my back. I picked up my phone, hands trembling. "Alex," I said, my voice shaky when he answered. "We need to talk." There was a long pause on the other end. "About what?" "You know exactly what. The money." "The account," I said, feeling a sharp pain in my chest. "What the hell is going on?" I heard him sigh. "Look, I don't have time for this right now." "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me, Alex," I shouted, my anger surging through me. "I know everything. I've seen the transfers, the payments. Don't you dare deny it." There was a cold silence, then a low chuckle. "You're acting like a damn fool," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You should have been smarter. You should have paid more attention." "What do you mean smarter?" "This is our business, Alex. Our partnership." I snapped, my voice breaking with frustration. "We built this together, and you've been taking money behind my back." He didn't apologize. Didn't even seem sorry. Instead, he sounded irritated, like I was inconveniencing him. "You were too busy playing it safe." I saw the potential. I grabbed it. And guess what? I don't regret it. I'm making moves that you wouldn't even understand. I felt my chest tighten. "How could you do this?" "We've been friends forever, Alex. You just threw that all away for money?" Another pause. Then his voice went cold, distant. "It's not personal. It never was. You're just too naive to see it. I've been doing this for both of us. You wouldn't have done what I did, but that's why I'm the one with the vision." I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch the wall, to do something, anything, to deal with the sudden flood of rage and betrayal. But I couldn't. My body felt frozen. You've changed," I said, barely able to get the words out. "This isn't the Alex I knew." He laughed. "You're pathetic. You're so caught up in your little ideas of loyalty and friendship that you can't even see what's really important. Money, power, success, those are what matter. Not some stupid bond you think we have." I felt sick. My hands were shaking now. "So that's it? After everything we've been through, you just screw me over for a quick buck? I'm sorry you didn't figure it out sooner. But this is the world we live in now. Wake up." His voice was completely detached, as if he was talking to a stranger. "If you had been paying attention, maybe you'd be in my shoes right now. But you're not. So don't act like I'm the villain here." I slammed the phone down, my heart hammering in my chest. I couldn't breathe. It was all too much. How could he be so cold? So uncaring? All those years, all those memories, everything we'd built, it all felt like a lie. I collapsed onto the couch, staring at my phone screen, still holding onto the traces of his voice. I didn't know what to do next. The betrayal stung deeper than anything I had ever felt before. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. Not after everything. He could deny it, justify it, but he was going to pay. I spent the next few days in a fog, barely able to focus on anything. The betrayal, the lies, the deceit, it all hit me like a wrecking ball. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how to move forward. Everywhere I went, I kept seeing Alex's face, hearing his voice. His words replayed over and over in my mind. "You're too naive to see it." I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape him. I hadn't gone to work in 2 days. I told myself I was just tired, but I knew the truth. I didn't want to face anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to sit in the silence of my apartment and wallow in my own misery. But then one afternoon, I picked up my phone. I saw Alex's name in my messages, and for a second, I thought about ignoring it. But curiosity got the best of me, and I opened the message. "Hey, you good?" It was short, casual, like nothing had happened. I couldn't help but feel anger flare up again. Good. How could I be good after everything? I typed out a reply, my fingers shaking. Good. What kind of question is that? You're the one who ruined everything. The response came quickly. I didn't ruin anything. You're just overreacting. Calm down. Calm down. It felt like a slap in the face. I set my phone down and ran my hands through my hair. This was all too much. He wasn't sorry. He didn't care. He was too busy justifying his actions to even see how much he'd hurt me. I let out a deep breath and leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. There was a part of me that still wanted to believe him, that still wanted to believe that maybe I was wrong, that maybe I could fix this. But the other part of me, the stronger part, knew it was over. I couldn't trust him anymore. I couldn't even trust myself for letting it go on this long. I got up, paced around the apartment. The walls seemed to close in on me. I hated feeling like this. I hated the weakness, the doubt, the guilt that ate at me from the inside out. I'd always been the one who fixed things, the one who made sure everything was okay. But now everything was broken, and I didn't know how to fix it. A few days went by. I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. I couldn't keep avoiding the world. I couldn't keep hiding away. I had to make a choice. I needed to either move on or go after Alex and make him pay for what he'd done. I stood up suddenly, pushing my chair back with a loud scrape. The anger surged through me, hot and fierce. I wanted to do something. Anything. But revenge? That was a path I didn't want to go down. I thought back to everything Alex and I had been through. The late nights working together, the laughs, the inside jokes, the plans we made for the future. Was that all a lie? Was any of it real? I couldn't answer that. And I hated the fact that I didn't have control anymore. That he had taken it from me. I grabbed my jacket and walked out the door, needing to breathe. The cool air hit me as I stepped outside, but it didn't calm the storm inside me. I was so lost. I had no idea where to even begin. But one thing was clear. I had to move forward. I couldn't keep letting this consume me. I spent the next few days thinking, reflecting, trying to figure out what was left of me. What could I salvage from all this? I wasn't the person I had been before. The person who trusted easily, who believed in loyalty above all else. I didn't know who I was now, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let Alex destroy me. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my reflection for what felt like the first time in ages. I didn't recognize the man staring back at me, but I knew I had to be stronger. I had to rebuild piece by piece, starting with myself. I wasn't sure how or when, or even if things would ever go back to normal. But I knew I couldn't keep drowning in anger and regret. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't who I was, so I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Alex win. I wasn't going to let him define me. I would move. The first few weeks after I left Alex behind felt like I was crawling out of some dark pit I had dug for myself. Every day was a battle, not just with the world, but with myself. I had trusted Alex with everything, and now I had nothing but the rubble of that friendship. I spent most of my time at home, working on what was left of the business. The numbers didn't lie. I was losing money, fast, but something in me refused to give up. I had a choice. I could either wallow in my anger, or I could pull myself together and make this work without Alex. That's when I met Jordan. Double quotes, hey. You look like you need a hand, Jordan said one afternoon as I sat at a coffee shop. Buried in my laptop, staring at the mess of spreadsheets. I barely noticed him at first, but when I looked up, he was standing there, coffee in hand, a half smile on his face. I raised an eyebrow, not sure if he was talking to me. You offering? Yeah, I saw you've been at this for a while. Maybe a fresh set of eyes would help, he said, his tone easygoing but sincere. I hesitated, then shrugged. I'm not exactly making any headway. Jordan sat down across from me without asking, setting his coffee down. Sometimes a fresh perspective's all you need. You've been grinding alone for too long, right? It felt strange, opening up to a stranger. But there was something about him, his confidence, his approach, that made me want to listen. So I did. We spent the next few hours talking about the business. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel completely lost. Jordan helped me sort through the mess, pointing out areas where I could cut costs, where I could improve. It wasn't a quick fix, but it was progress. Before he left, he clapped me on the back. "You've got potential, man. Don't let one bad partnership make you doubt yourself." It hit me like a punch in the gut. He was right. I had been doubting myself, letting Alex's betrayal cloud everything I had worked for. But in that moment, I realized something. I didn't need Alex. I didn't need anyone telling me what I could or couldn't do. I could build something by myself, for myself. I started working harder than ever. I'd wake up early, hit the gym to clear my head, then dive into the business, doing what I could to keep it afloat. Every day, it was a small victory. I was making progress, and it felt good. The feeling of control was something I hadn't had in so long. A few weeks later, I ran into Sophie. I'd met her a couple of times through some mutual friends, but we'd never really connected. This time, she seemed different, more open. Like she saw something in me that I didn't even realize was there. "You look like you've been busy," she said with a smile as she approached me at a networking event. I chuckled. "I've been trying to keep it together. You know how it is." "I do," she replied, leaning in closer. "I can tell you've been through a lot, but you've got something here. You just need to believe in it and in yourself." I met her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of something. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was the recognition that I wasn't alone. "I'm working on it," I said, my voice quieter than usual. Sophie smiled. "Good. Let me know if you ever need help. I know a few people who could point you in the right direction." Her offer felt genuine, and I found myself grateful for the support, even if it was just a small thing. Slowly, I was building a network of people who believed in me. People who didn't care about Alex or his schemes. Days turned into weeks, and I started noticing changes in myself. I wasn't the same guy who had been dragged down by betrayal. I was stronger, more confident, more independent. I wasn't relying on anyone anymore. Not Alex. Not anyone. The more I worked, the more I realized something. I had been relying on Alex for too long. I had put my trust in him because he was the one who always took charge, who always had the answers. But I had the answers too. I just needed to trust myself. One evening, I sat at my desk, looking at the numbers. I was ahead for the first time in months. It felt good, but not just because of the business. It felt good because I knew I had done this on my own. Without Alex, my phone buzzed, and I saw a message from him. I opened it, expecting another excuse, another justification for his betrayal. But this time, I didn't care. I closed the message without replying and sat back. It had been months since I'd cut ties with Alex. My business was growing, and I was finally starting to feel like myself again. But then, one morning, my phone buzzed with a message I wasn't prepared for. "Can we talk?" Alex's name flashed on the screen, and my stomach dropped. I didn't respond right away. I stared at the message, feeling the old anger surge through me. I put my phone down and went about my day, trying to ignore the buzzing in my pocket. It was just one message. But why now? After everything? By the end of the day, I caved. I opened the message. "I'm sorry, okay? I've made a lot of mistakes. I need you to hear me out. Please, let's talk." I couldn't believe it. This was exactly what I expected. No real apology, just a plea to regain control, to fix things in his favor. I sat there, grinding my teeth, hands shaking as I typed back. "Why now? After everything? You think you can just waltz back in and make everything okay?" There was a long pause before his response came through. "I never wanted to hurt you. You have to understand, there were things going on. Pressures I couldn't control. People were pushing me to do things I didn't want to. You wouldn't get it, but I'm trying to make things right." I let out a bitter laugh. "You're trying to make things right? After everything? Do you even hear yourself?" Another pause. I could almost feel him on the other side, trying to gather his thoughts, crafting the perfect excuse. "Look, I'm not proud of what I did, but I was in too deep. I was trying to protect us, both of us. I thought I was doing the right thing, but it got out of hand. I'm sorry." Shook my head, the words cutting deeper than I expected. He was still doing it, manipulating the situation, trying to make it sound like it wasn't his fault. I could feel the rage building up inside me, the betrayal, the lies, all of it flooding back. "You're not sorry, Alex," I texted, my fingers pressing hard on the keys. "You're only sorry because things didn't go the way you planned. If you really cared, you wouldn't have done it in the first place." The response came almost immediately. "You're right. I messed up. But I'm trying to fix it now. Please, don't shut me out. I need your help. We could still make it work. Just give me a chance." I stared at the message, feeling my chest tighten. Part of Mitha, part that had trusted him for years, wanted to believe him. Wanted to think that maybe there was some truth in his words, some shred of the old Alex I had known. But the other part, the part that had built himself back up from the ashes of this betrayal, knew better. "No," I typed firmly. "You don't get to just walk back in and expect things to go back to how they were. I'm not the same person I was when you left." I tossed my phone onto the couch, my heart racing. His words were hollow. I had spent so much time thinking about what I had lost, about how much I missed him, that I almost let him convince me to go back to that place. But now, I was stronger. I knew that forgiving him would mean I was giving up everything I had worked for, everything I had fought to build without him. I picked up the phone again. And before I could think better of it, I called him. "Alex," I said when he picked up, my voice steady. "Despite the storm inside me, I've heard enough. Don't come around here again. You had your chance." He was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, I could hear the desperation in his voice. "Please, just hear me out. You can't be serious. I'm still your friend. We've been through too much for you to just throw it all away." "Not anymore," I said, the words cutting through the silence between us. "You're not my friend anymore, Alex. You never were. You chose money over everything, including me. I'm done." I hung up before he could say anything else, tossing my phone back onto the couch. The air around me felt thick, but as the seconds passed, the weight on my chest lightened. I had done it. I had finally I hadn't thought about Alex much since I hung up on him a few weeks ago. It wasn't that I wasn't tempted to reach out, to let him back into my life the way I had so many times before. But every time I thought about forgiving him, I realized how far I had come without him. My business was finally back on track. My confidence, something I hadn't realized I'd lost, was slowly returning. And the last thing I wanted was for Alex to come in and drag me back to where I'd been, helpless and trusting. But then I heard the rumors. "Did you hear about Alex?" Jordan asked me one afternoon over coffee. He didn't wait for me to respond. "His business is tanking. Big time." I leaned in, the words pulling me in like a magnet. "What do you mean tanking?" Jordan shrugged, glancing around like he wasn't sure if he should be talking about it. "I've been hearing a lot of things. He's been making some bad investments, got involved with the wrong people. People who don't forget debts." A part of me felt a sick thrill at the thought. Alex was always the one with the plan, the one who seemed like he could do anything and get away with it. To think that he was failing, it felt like justice, but also something more. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. "You know what's crazy?" Jordan continued, pulling me out of my thoughts. "He's tried reaching out to some of the people he burned, asking for help. They're laughing at him. He's got no allies left." I took a slow sip of my coffee, letting the words sink in. I wasn't proud of it, but I felt relief. The thing about Alex was, he'd always had control over everything. But now, he was falling apart. I didn't seek out revenge. That wasn't me anymore. But watching karma play out, seeing him unravel without me lifting a finger, there was something satisfying about that. A few days later, I ran into him. It was by chance, and I almost didn't recognize him at first. He looked different, disheveled, eyes tired, like he hadn't been sleeping. "Hey man," he called out when he saw me. I froze, unsure of what to do. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer right away. Part of me wanted to tell him exactly what I thought of him, to let him have it. But another part of me just didn't care enough anymore. "Why?" I asked, my voice flat. "What is there to talk about?" He stepped closer, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. Look, I messed up. I know I did. But I need your help. I'm in a bad spot, and I don't know where else to turn. I glanced around, as if hoping someone would stop this conversation from going any further. But there was no one. Just me and the man who had burned me. I can't help you, Alex, I said, the words coming out more calmly than I expected. You made your bed. Now you have to lie in it. He flinched like I had slapped him. But I wasn't going to back down. Not now. I didn't want this, he said quickly. You have to understand. Things got out of hand, and I raised my hand, stopping him mid-sentence. I don't want to hear your excuses. You made your choices. You've been making them for a while now. He looked down, clearly struggling to find the right words. I could see the regret in his eyes, but it wasn't enough. It was too late for that. You know, I said, my voice softer now, but still firm. You could have had it all.
Alex.
We could have built something together. But you chose greed. You chose to betray the people who believed in you. Now, look at you. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His silence spoke louder than anything he could have said. I'm not going to help you, I said one last time. But if it makes you feel better, I'll just say this. You brought this on yourself. And with that, I turned and walked away. Later, I thought about our conversation. It wasn't the closure I had imagined. It wasn't the revenge I'd once fantasized about. But it didn't matter. Alex's downfall wasn't something I had to orchestrate. He had done it to himself. I wasn't that person anymore, the person who felt like I had to get even. Watching him fail, watching him beg for help, was its own kind of justice. Maybe it wasn't the justice I wanted, but it was the justice I needed. And as I walked away, a weight I hadn't realized was there seemed to lift off my shoulders. It was a Saturday afternoon when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I opened the door, I saw him standing there, Alex. He looked like a shell of the person I used to know. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair unkempt. There was something about his eyes, the hollow desperation that sent a chill through me. Can I talk to you? His voice was soft, almost pleading. I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there, watching him, trying to gauge if this was real or just another one of his games. You've got 5 minutes, I said, my voice flat. There was no anger in me anymore, just exhaustion. The last time I had seen him, he was full of pride. But now, he was the one begging. Alex took a deep breath, like he was steeling himself. I've lost everything. My business. It's gone. People I thought I could count on, he stopped, shaking his head as if the words wouldn't come out right. I've got nothing left, man. I know I screwed up. I know I betrayed you. But I need your help. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. It felt surreal watching him stand there in such a sorry state. This was the man who had once seemed invincible. The man who had used everyone around him to get ahead. And now, here he was, completely undone. You want me to help you? I asked, my tone cold. After everything? You think I'm just going to let you back into my life because you hit rock bottom? I don't have anywhere else to go, he said, his voice breaking. I'm not asking for a handout. I need a job. Something to get me back on my feet, please. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who once had it all, ambition, success, power, was now standing in front of me, asking for mercy. I should have felt something, anger, maybe, or satisfaction. But instead, there was only a quiet sense of triumph. I can't believe you're here. Asking me for a job, I said slowly. After everything you did, you think I'm just going to forget it? He nodded, desperation written all over his face. I don't expect you to forget. I need a chance. I'm not asking for much. I know what I did was wrong, but I can't fix it alone. Please. I stayed silent for a moment, letting his words hang in the air. There was a time not long ago when I would have bent over backwards to help him. But now I understood that some things couldn't be fixed. He had burned too many bridges, starting with me. Alex, I said finally, my voice calm but firm. You had your chance. You had a choice, and you made it. You chose greed, betrayal. You chose to tear everything down. And now you want me to fix it for you? His eyes dropped to the ground, and for the first time, I saw something resembling shame flicker across his face. But it wasn't enough. It was too late for apologies. I'm not going to give you a job, I continued. But I will tell you this. You have to learn how to rebuild on your own. You can't keep asking people to fix what you broke. You're on your own now, and maybe that's the lesson you need to learn. He stood there for a moment, as if trying to process what I'd said. His hands were trembling slightly, his face flushed with embarrassment. Please, he said again, his voice almost pleading. I just need a break, a chance. I'll work for nothing, just give me a shot. I shook my head, not even feeling anger anymore, just a quiet sense of peace. I'm not going to be the one to give you that chance, Alex. You've got to do it yourself. There was a long pause. Then he muttered something under his breath, something I couldn't quite make out, and turned to leave. I didn't watch him go. I didn't need to. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it, closing my eyes for a moment. It was done. The power had shifted. He had been the one with the control, the one who made all the moves. But now he was the one begging. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel anything, really, except that quiet satisfaction. Watching him crumble wasn't revenge. It was just reality. He had brought this on himself. As I stood there, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need to watch him fail or watch him suffer. He was already paying the price. And for the first time, I understood that justice wasn't always about action. Sometimes I sat in the quiet of my office, watching the city lights flicker as the sun dipped below the horizon. It had been a long day, another day of progress, another day of success. But tonight, I wasn't focused on the work. I wasn't thinking about the deals, the contracts, or the meetings. I was thinking about how far I'd come. Not long ago, I would have been lost in the chaos, in the anger, in the need for revenge. But now I was different, stronger. I'd built something on my own, something Alex would never understand. There was a knock on the door. I didn't need to answer. I wasn't expecting anyone, and if it was important, they'd reach out through the proper channels. I let the silence stretch, pulling my thoughts back to where they belonged. The only thing I needed now was peace. The past had taught me that. The past had taught me that sometimes the best response to everything was silence. Let the world speak. Let it try to drag you back. But you don't have to engage. You don't have to fight the battles that others want to start. Sometimes the quietest victory is the most powerful. A text buzzed on my phone. I saw Alex's name flash across the screen. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but I opened it anyway. Are you sure about this? It read, I know I messed up, but I can still make it right. We could rebuild this, ... together. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the keyboard. A small part of me wanted to respond, to tell him just how much he had ruined everything, to remind him of every lie, every betrayal. But I stopped myself. I didn't need to say anything. He wasn't worth my time anymore. Instead, set my phone down and let the words fade into the background. I wasn't that person anymore, the person who felt the need to prove something. Alex's downfall wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't even about him. It was about his own choices. He had decided his path. It was too late for him to turn back. I thought about everything that had happened, how much I had given to that friendship, how much I had believed in someone who never believed in me. But now, with everything I had built, I realized something. All of it, every success, every victory was a result of my own strength. I didn't need Alex. I didn't need anyone. I leaned back in my chair, my gaze drifting to the skyline. The city was still bustling, but it felt distant, like I was no longer part of it. My life had shifted, and with that shift came clarity. I didn't need validation from anyone. My journey, my success, my growth, it was the sweetest revenge. For the first time in ages, I felt light. Not because I had won some battle, not because I had crushed Alex's ego, but because I had finally found peace within myself. I was the man I had always wanted to be. Strong, independent, in control of my own future. The phone buzzed again. Alex. I didn't even look at it this time. And as I sat there, Staring out at the city that no longer held the same weight for me, I realized something important. I hadn't just outgrown Alex, I had outgrown everything that had tied me down. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment that had tried to define me. I had created my own story, and it was more than I ever could have imagined. I didn't need to say anything. I've learned a lot over the past year. Things I never expected to learn. Lessons that were painful but necessary. Some were taught through failure, others through betrayal. But the one thing that stands out above all else is this. Trust is sacred. But it's not unbreakable. You can give everything to someone your time. Your loyalty, your heart, and they can take it all. Without a second thought. That's what Alex did. That's what he showed me. But what I also learned is that I'm not defined by what others do to me. I'm defined by how I respond. And for the first time in my life, I've chosen to take control of my own fate. You see? When Alex first betrayed me, I wanted revenge. I wanted to watch him fall, to see him suffer for what he did. Now I realize that it wasn't revenge that gave me peace. It was letting go. It was walking away from the need to right every wrong and trusting that karma would take care of the rest. It wasn't my job to fix the universe. It was my job to fix me. When I look back, I don't see a victim anymore. I see someone who was tested, who faced a choice between staying broken or growing stronger. And I chose strength. I chose self-reliance. I chose to rebuild, to trust myself instead of others. And in that process, I found freedom. I've stopped caring about what happened to Alex. I've stopped trying to figure out why he did what he did. His downfall isn't my problem. I don't need to be a part of it. Watching him fail wasn't the closure I needed. The closure came when I realized that I had everything I needed to move forward. It came when I stopped measuring my worth by his actions and started measuring it by my own. And that's what this journey taught me. Never rely on anyone else to define you. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait for someone to give you permission to be who you are. The moment I let go of the idea that I needed Alex or anyone else for my happiness, that's when I truly found peace. Alex's fate is sealed, and that's on him. But me, I'm free. Free from the past, free from the lies, free from the shackles I used to believe were holding me back. I've worked hard for everything I have, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. I don't fear the future. I've earned the right to shape it. There's nothing left to prove, so. If you're ever in a place where someone betrays you, where everything you've built with someone crumbles, remember this. The real power is in how you respond. Take your lessons, hold on to your dignity, and let karma do the rest. Don't waste your time chasing revenge.